In the dusty village of Abeni, tucked deep in the heart of Nigeria, lived Mama Kemi, a strong woman with calloused palms and soft prayers. Her hut was small, made of mud and rusted tin, but her heart was bigger than the sky. Her son, Tunda, came into the world on a rainy night, screaming like thunder, and Mama Kemi whispered to him, "You will be great, my son. Even if I eat sorrow, you will taste sweetness." Life was not kind. Kemi lost her husband when Tunda was only a baby. A snake bite took him far from her arms, leaving behind silence and a hungry mouth to feed. From that day, Mama Kemi became both mother and father. She would wake up before dawn, strap Tunda on her back, and walk miles into the forest to gather firewood. Sometimes she returned limping, sometimes bleeding, but never empty-handed. The villagers laughed. "Kemi, why you kill yourself over that boy? He go leave you one day." She would smile and say, "If my sweat buys him a future, then let me drown in it." Tunda grew like a weed in the dry soil, thin, fast, and curious. At 5, he could already balance firewood on his head and help his mother at the market. He didn't complain when he wore torn shorts or went to bed hungry. He only asked questions. "Mama, why other children go school and I carry wood?" She would kneel beside him and hold his tiny hand. "Because school costs money, Tunda. But one day, if God hears my prayer, you will wear shoes and write your name in books." He believed her, because her eyes never lied. At night, she told him stories under the cracked lantern light. Stories of warriors, of kings who were born from nothing, of boys who became lions. Tunda listened, eyes wide, heart burning with dreams too big for their small hut. But dreams are fragile. One dry season, Mama Kemi fell ill. Her back ached, her vision blurred. Yet she still dragged herself to the forest. One day, she collapsed under a tree, firewood spilling like her strength. A kind farmer found her and carried her home. Tunda cried beside her mat all night, wiping her sweat, feeding her herbs, whispering the same words she once told him. "You will be fine, Mama. One day, I will buy you a house." She laughed through her pain. "Then hurry, my son. This hut is tired." For 7 years, they survived like that, barely, stubbornly. But every night, Mama Kemi knelt on her mat and whispered the same prayer to the stars. "God, I have nothing to give you but my pain. Please trade it for my son's future." Tunda was 8 when the miracle came, not wrapped in gold, but in dust-covered shoes. It happened on a Wednesday morning. Mama Kemi had just returned from the market, her basket half empty and her face full of worry. She hadn't sold enough firewood. Tunda was sweeping the compound when a white pickup truck rolled into the village, strange and slow. Out stepped a woman in a red headscarf and glasses that caught the sun. Her name was Miss Bissy. She worked with a church-funded school from the city and had come to find children, bright ones from poor homes. Tunda had never seen anyone like her. She spoke softly, but even the elders listened. "I need children who want to learn," she said. "We will give shoes, books, food, everything." The moment those words left her lips, Mama Kemi stepped forward. "My son," she said, pointing to Tunda, "he be small, but his head is full of fire." Tunda was shy. His feet were bare, his shirt ripped, but when Miss Bissy asked him a simple math question, he answered faster than her smile could spread. 2 weeks later, Tunda had a uniform and shoes, secondhand, but magical. He walked like a king even when the shoes pinched. Mama Kemi stood by the door every morning, pressing his shoulders like a blessing. "Walk proud, Tunda. You're carrying all my prayers on those feet." School opened Tunda's world. He learned English, science, and even how to write his name in cursive. He was quiet but sharp. Teachers loved him. Other kids mocked him at first, called him bush boy, but soon, they followed him, copying his homework and begging for answers. Yet home was still hard. Mama Kemi still sold firewood. Some days, she went without food just so Tunda could take lunch to school. Her cough got worse, but she smiled through it. Tunda noticed everything. One evening, he stood beside her as she coughed into a cloth stained red. "Mama, stop the forest work. I will find something, anything." She cupped his face. "No, my son. If I stop now, your wings will break before you fly." When Tunda turned 12, he took on weekend jobs, sweeping churches, helping traders in the market, even shining shoes. Every naira he made, he brought to her, laying it in her hand like treasure. One day, he asked her, "Mama, why do you pray every night?" She looked up at the stars. "Because prayer is the only thing that travels faster than pain." By the time he was 14, Tunda had finished junior secondary school at the top of his class. Miss Bissy returned with more news. He had qualified for a special scholarship in Lagos. A school for gifted children. Boarding, full tuition, meals, uniforms. When they gave him the acceptance letter, Mama Kemi read it with trembling hands. She hugged him tight, whispering, "This is the price of my knees on the floor, Tunda. Go, fly, and don't look back unless you're bringing me joy." Tunda wept that night, but he knew, his journey was just beginning. Lagos. The city roared like a giant, spitting smoke and dreams into the sky. Tunda had never seen buildings so tall, or people so fast. The scholarship school sat behind iron gates, polished and proud, where boys wore blazers and girls spoke with confidence. Tunda arrived with his one bag, a notebook, and his mother's voice tucked in his chest. Don't let their riches scare you. You carry something deeper. At first, he felt like a ghost. The other students had tablets, tutors, and English that flowed like rivers. Tunda stammered. His uniform felt too stiff. His shoes too clean. But every time he saw his reflection, he remembered firewood on his back and his mother's calloused hands. He studied like the world would end tomorrow. While others partied, he stayed back in the library. When others laughed, he listened. By 16, he was topping his classes. Teachers began to mention his name in meetings. That village boy from Abeni. He's going places. Still, Tunda never forgot home. He called his mother once a week from a school line. Every call began the same way. Mama, it's me. And every time, she replied, I knew. My heart danced before the phone rang. He sent money when he could, little by little. Mama Kemi used it to patch the leaking roof, buy medicine, and even treat herself to a new wrapper. But she told no one. Pride wasn't her style. When Tunda turned 18, he sat for the national exams. He passed with flying colors, straight A's. A foreign NGO offered him a place in a youth leadership program in Ghana. All expenses paid. He traveled by air for the first time, gripping the seat, praying under his breath. The clouds looked like cotton in heaven. In Ghana, he met other brilliant minds, Africans from villages, cities, islands. They shared stories, dreams, struggles. For the first time, Tunda didn't feel alone. He belonged. He spoke about education, poverty, and what it meant to rise from nothing. People listened. When he returned to Lagos, he had one goal: university. With his results, he earned admission into one of Nigeria's best universities to study engineering. The scholarship followed him, and still, he rose. But in his final year, a letter came from Abeni. Mama Kemi had fallen. This time, it was serious. Her lungs were failing. The firewood years had taken their toll. The village nurse wrote, "Come if you can. She asks for you in her sleep." Tunda borrowed money, skipped class, and boarded the first bus. The journey was long and hot, but his heart beat faster with every mile. He found her lying on her mat, frail, but smiling. "Ah, my son," she whispered, touching his cheek. "You grew." Tunda knelt beside her. "Mama, hold on. I will graduate soon. Then I will carry you to the city." She chuckled. "No need, my son. My journey is ending. But yours is just beginning." He cried into her chest like a boy again. That night, under the same cracked lantern, she prayed for him one last time. Her voice was soft, but her words were fierce. "God, I return my soul with peace. My son will shine like the sun. Let the world taste the sweetness I never had." By morning, Mama Kemi was gone. And the stars above Abeni wept with her son. Tunda buried his mother under the tree where she once collapsed carrying firewood. The villagers gathered, heads bowed, some in shame, others in silent respect. No one laughed anymore. The boy from the bush had returned a man, with fire in his eyes and grief in his heart. After the funeral, Tunda stayed in Abeni for a while. He sat in her empty hut, touched her folded wrappers, and reread her prayer journal. Every page smelled of kerosene and hope. Each night, he lit the lantern and whispered her words to the stars. When he returned to the city, he was no longer the same. He graduated with first-class honors in engineering. During his convocation, he wore a black suit and a proud face, but no one clapped louder in his heart than Mama Kemi. He walked that stage for her, for every log she carried, every cough she swallowed. With his brilliance, Tunda landed a job with a tech firm, building solar energy solutions for rural communities. He traveled across Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana, designing light for villages that had never seen a bulb. People called him the engineer who chased darkness. But he didn't stop there. At 25, he founded his own company, Kemi Tech, named after the woman who prayed him into power. His mission was simple: to bring light where there had only been firewood. Investors laughed at first, but Tunda's results spoke louder than doubt. His company launched solar hubs in villages, built water systems powered by sunlight, and trained local youths in tech. The same year, a documentary about his life went viral. From Firewood to Future, the story of Tunda from Abeni. Suddenly, the world listened. He was invited to speak at conferences in New York, London, and Nairobi. On every stage, he wore his mother's spirit like armor. He always ended with the same line: "My mother never saw a computer. But her prayers built mine." Money followed, then fame, but Tunda remained rooted. At 28, he returned to Abeni, not with a bag, but with trucks. He built a school, a hospital, and solar panels across the village. The old market was rebuilt. Roads were tarred, and in the center of it all, he built a house, not for himself, but a library named the Mama Kemi Learning Center. On the day it opened, he gathered the children of the village and told them, "You don't need to be born in the city to change the world. You just need one person to believe in you." Rain fell that afternoon, the first rain of the season. The elders called it a sign. And as the wind blew through the trees, it carried an old whisper from the stars. "God, I return my soul with peace. My son will shine like the sun." And he did. Tunda, the boy of firewood, became the man who brought the rain.